Okay, so you've had a look at this from a few different angles, you know, from your time as an accountant, perhaps auditing some of these projects, through to now operating some of these projects and perhaps many in between. When you sit back and look at what it could be and then start down the strategic pathway, I mean, what are you looking for?
This one was interesting in that what's distinctly different about this as opposed to just about every other one that I've looked at is things like Caribou Dome and Zackley are demonstrably high grade. You know, it's 5% copper over at Caribou and there's 3 grams plus gold on the surface at Zackley. That is always going to be profitable in this kind of environment. So that was the immediate focus. The big picture, which was identified right up front by our tech team, was that has to have come from something. And we've amassed enough tenure to probably have that source on our tenure.
So just to kind of paint a picture for viewers, for listeners, describe it for me. Describe where you're operating, the size, the scale, and what you think's under the ground.
All right, we're about 250 kilometres north of Anchorage, which for all intents is the operational coastal capital of Alaska. We're not remote. It's about 5 hours drive to site. We're only 20 kilometres from sealed tarmac, 9 kilometres from the Denali Highway and one of 2 local lodges. So we're not in a remote area. We've amassed a big patch of tenure while things were tough, and hey, they still are. But we've got 35 kilometres of continuous tenure, nearly all of it demonstrably either copper or copper and gold mineralised.
So what does it take to keep it? I mean, I imagine you've got blokes knocking on your door.
Surprisingly, I don't want to start the Great Alaskan Gold Rush of 2019 because we want more of it, but it's surprisingly cheap to maintain tenure there, to the point where some of the tenure that we've looked at has been in the same private hands for up to 50 years.
So talk me through the next sort of 6, 12, 18 months on site. What's likely to happen there, and what's the plan?
Look, PolarX's mantra is drill it. We've spent every dollar we've had every year drilling this. We will continue to do that. We will go into this season, post-rights issue, which is current very shortly, with $8.5 million. The lion's share of that's already spoken for. We will spend all of that, half on the Zackley skarn, which we own 100% of. And we're drilling 50 metre thicknesses at 3 grams a tonne gold and 0.5% copper there. Now, that's a very good start. It's from surface. It'll be open pittable if we can extend it. So we're doing all of that 100% ourselves. Concurrently with that, we'll be drilling those massive targets you see Saturn and Mars. That will happen all over the next few months.
So look, exciting 18 months coming up. Everyone's excited on the team, no doubt. And I mean, you're working in tough operating conditions up there in Alaska. I mean, so there must be a couple of hurdles that you sort of, slightly keep you awake at night. I mean, I appreciate there's not too many people there. It might be the bears.
It's interesting what keeps them awake at night. It's not the usual things. I'm not worried about the commodity price. We've got margin at these sorts of grades. So copper and gold price right now are fine. I'm not worried about tenure maintenance. I'm not even really worried about funding. My biggest worry is actually ASX stock price because it's otherwise highly dilutional to us. And it's really that that's driven us to do a corporate deal over tenure rather than raise a big chunk of capital that was dilutional to our existing shareholders.
Let's talk copper for a few moments. I think it's a real story. There's a demand. There's not much in stock, in surplus around the place, sort of stockpile. So the question becomes, well, okay, who become the key players?
Look, I think ultimately there's sort of 2 levels of that. The world's largest copper mines are in big porphyry deposits like the one we hope we have. They're coming to the end of their life. Grasberg's getting long in the tooth. It's now Indonesian owned. Some of those South American mines are getting a little old. There's more industrial unrest in some of these places as well. And we've seen what can happen with iron ore when you have a failing in even one of them. It does tighten up supply. What I see is this: not a lot has been found in the last 10 to 20 years, and when you have a demand spike, they can go up and down quite quickly. But when you have a supply constriction, it can take you a decade or more to fix it and turn it around. So if we have a supply constriction, and all of the chartists are saying that, I think we're going to see solid copper prices for a long time.
So all being equal, what does it take, timeline perspectives to basically move from the phase you are today to in production to selling your ore?
We have a dual pathway here. What we have retained that isn't in this current joint venture is the Zackley skarn, where we're drilling those massive 50-metre intercepts. The Caribou Dome project as well. We've kept the existing resources and we will continue to expand those over the next 2 to 3 years to critical mass. We'd like to think we've got visibility to that even within the next 12 months. So that's actually quite a fast track to cash flow with good grade. The big picture, we've got a deal now that we can actually fund it sufficiently to find it. And if we do find it, can actually take it somewhere instantly because we've already got a partner, etc.
Thanks for speaking with us.
Good on you. Thanks.